everyone. I'm Victoria Arnstein, and I'm your host for Wife's a Bitch podcast. Thank you for tuning in. This is basically about relationships. If you want to delve into, you know, dating life or even married life, everybody has a relationship somewhere, and good to know a little something that maybe you didn't know before. So I have some topics, and this is not going to be a really long one, but why not get into it? So, before I do that, I just like to tell you that I do have some merch. I do now have on Wife's a Bitch podcast or wifesabitch.com actually. I have mugs and I have t-shirts and I have different colors, long sleeves, sweatshirts, hats. It's fun. Anyway, just thought I'd tell you about that. Go to wifesabitch.com for your merch. So, let's get into it. Um, don't write someone off unless they seem like a threat, of course. That's the only time you should write someone off. But if you really feel like, I'm not sure, and you have like some good feelings about that person, give them a chance. You might not know you like somebody long term unless you date them 3 or 4 times. I know that sounds crazy. You think you know what you want all the time, but honestly, I thought that too. And then I went for somebody that was completely not in my wheelhouse. And by the third date, I started to feel something more than what I was feeling before. I didn't think that there was going to be there was chemistry, but it wasn't enough. There's like a lot of stuff that I had on my list that I wanted for a husband. And he was not there yet. He wasn't cooked. He was in the middle of being cooked. You know what I mean? So, like, don't write somebody off so easily. The problem with so much social media and all the dating apps is that you have so many options that you think that you're going to find something else better all the time. It's like a constant tug at yourself because you think that you're missing out. You have like FOMO, but with dating. And I say don't go exclusive with somebody. I don't think that you should go exclusive with anybody until you really are serious because you will be missing out on really potentially good guys for you. And you could be closing doors to other people that are meant for you because you're giving someone else too much of your attention. They deserve your attention, but not all your attention. You don't have to give somebody everything of yours. And so that's why I never really did exclusives with anybody until I had a commitment. And I think that's fair to say about anything in life. Anything that you invest in, you should have your options first. But my point is that I wouldn't write off somebody right away just because I think that I know what I'm doing. Because there's so many things that are hiding and lurking that you don't know are going to be great for you later on. So now I'm married 25 years, almost 26 years. I'm with him 27 years. I will say that what he had been in a boyfriend, he wasn't in a husband and vice versa. And now I'm getting tenfold. I'm getting way more than I bargained for, way more than I invested in. I am thrilled with the results. The results are endless now. My husband is a major provider. He does everything for me. Um, of course, there's ups and downs, but that's in every marriage anyway. But I took a chance. I saw ambition in the man, and that's very valuable. A lot of women don't see that as valuable. They want the man to be very wealthy right away, instant gratification. Those guys could lose their money too. And then what do you have in the end? You don't have that glue that holds you together, the stuff that got you together in the first place. So attraction, chemistry, all important. And then work from there. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't write it off. Or even if you don't know if you're really attracted to them at first, the stuff they do for you makes them attractive, especially if you're a woman. If you're a woman, actions, love is an action. It really is a verb. It's like you really want to see what they're capable of doing for you because that's the stuff, that's the magic. You know, all that other stuff really fades. You're so vulnerable when you sleep. You want to trust who that person is. This is such an important decision. I've said this in other podcasts, but relationships are so complex that at the end of the day, that's all you have is what are you doing for each other? What are you getting from each other? And what are you giving to each other? And that's really the exchange. It's really just one big trade. Everything's really one big trade, even friendships. There's one big trade going on at all times. It's a give and take all the time. Sometimes you're going to give a little bit more for a couple months, and then they'll give you a little bit more, but it'll show up. And that's the point. If it shows up all the time, you know that you pick the winner. And that's what really marriage is. It's a commitment to each other and a regard for each other. And you're really giving and taking all the time. That's what this is. And you also, if you have children or if you have pets, you're also, sharing and you're bonding and you're making yourself a little bit more accessible to another person as opposed to just being with yourself. So don't write somebody off. I promise you, you need to invest a lot more time than you think to find somebody long term. Um, this next topic is arguing and triggered. So if if you're with somebody for a while, you know when something's coming. It's like an ulcer, like it's almost like a wave or a tidal wave. You need to let it pass, but you know it's coming. So if you know that somebody's gonna trigger you or how they trigger you, find out what it is and then just slowly back away and take time away from it. Because yeah, sometimes I'll give in to the trigger, but I think now that I'm older and now that I have more experience with my husband and more experience in life, I could easily see the trigger and I could easily walk away from it. Even if I do get into an argument with him, I will still walk away afterwards, knowing that I don't have to come running back like I used to. The neediness before was so overwhelming to him because he's an alpha male, but he didn't know why he was backing off. But it was because of my neediness that he did. So I think the important thing to notice is if you see that you're getting triggered by something that's familiar to you, and I'm sure you'll find a pattern, and I'm sure you'll have that pattern come over and over again, and that lesson and that trigger will continue to happen even though you think you resolved an argument long ago and many times. That trigger will still show up, and it's up to you whether you want to address it and move on or just move on. But really, I say, I know this is a cliche, pick your fights. Pick your fights because you will keep having them. And is it worth staying on all the time? You could really just pound it and say, listen, this is it. I'm not taking it anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. It worked before. It doesn't work again. Or you could just ignore it and then it'll just pass, you know? Sometimes they do it to get a rise out of you. I know my husband does it to get a rise out of me sometimes because he's annoyed or he just, had a bad feeling about something before that. Something happened to him before that in business or whatever, and I don't know what it was, and he'll take it out on me. And I know that it's going to pass. I know that it's going to be just a wave, tidal wave. I do want to say before I get to the next topic that if you do have any type of questions related to relationships and you want any advice for free, all I ask is that you email it to me or send it to me in DM in my website, wifesabitch.com. And also, I'll answer it anonymously and you can get your answer. And I give free advice, and that's what I do. I'm pretty good at this. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to give you the best advice. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will. I don't know, but it's worth it. It's free. The only thing I ask is that you follow me. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me wherever you want. Just follow me, subscribe, like, comment, share. Tell a friend. Uh, makes Victoria makes you laugh on Instagram. For now, I might be banned. I'm a comedian. I don't know. Jokes don't go well on Instagram. Hopefully that changes soon with who knows what in the government. Maybe they'll do something about it. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, that's my thing. Next topic, meeting someone under weird circumstances. Sometimes you will meet somebody and it'll be weird. Like you weren't expecting to meet them. Like there was some weird thing that happened. Maybe you just showed up at a party last minute, or maybe you just showed up in a restaurant, at the gas station, whatever it was, and you did not see it coming. But don't write that off either. Like that could be something very good. Like you didn't know it was coming, you didn't plan it, which is probably even better. And the unplanned, last minute serendipitous things that happen to you are probably the best things that could happen to you. So don't write that off either. And also, when you do meet someone under weird circumstances and then you do end up in a relationship, find out why you ended up with them. Maybe you were just in a weird predicament and felt familiar and wanted to just lean on somebody, or maybe you were really like, I can't believe this happened out of nowhere and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So keep that in mind if it's a weird situation, a weird circumstance. I say the thing that you should be good at, and I really do feel this way, is I think that you should be good at sex. Like I think that, even if you want to remain a virgin until you're married, like I did, um, you still have to get good at it afterwards. And they always say, well, my grandmother did. If you give them breakfast, they'll come home for dinner. But you really can't keep, shying away from it, throwing it to the wind, like just expecting your mate to just be like, okay, I won't get it tonight or the next night or the next night. But you really do have to bond. Every single week you have to bond. And if it's not every week, it's every 2 weeks. You have to get into that. You have to make an effort. I know it's predictable sometimes because you're with somebody a long time, but you have to try new things. You have to spice it up. You have to do it because it's work. Relationships are work if you want to hold on to it. So many women are surprised that their husbands are cheating, or men are surprised. And, you know, women will cheat sometimes emotionally. They're not getting the emotional attention that they want and deserve. And we're built a little differently, guys. But I have to say, you have to really pay attention to that. I'm not going to say that, your relationship, oh, we're married a long time, he knows me already, we're comfortable with each other. Yeah. Yeah, you're comfortable, but sex is important in a relationship. I'm sorry to say, if you thought that it was going to be different, then I'm sorry, that's not going to work. It doesn't work for a man usually. I'm not saying it's the most important, but it is a very important thing. So don't keep rejecting your mate. Stop rejecting your mate. Too many times of rejection will lead to a really bad thing. So I'm just letting you know. Okay, there's that. The next one is long distance relationships. Do they work? I say they don't usually work, but they will work if both parties want it. If both parties are independent and financially independent, and by the way, financial independence could be a bad thing too in a relationship because it means that you have the means to get divorced and people will not work at their marriage. Fortunately, my husband and I had no money for a very long time, and divorce was not an option. We didn't have the money, so we couldn't. And thank God we didn't because we had to work at it. But a lot of things are lost because of that. A lot of relationships get lost. You have to go back to why you met in the first place, why you wanted to be in a relationship in the first place, why you still want to be in a relationship. Sometimes you don't. Maybe you really don't. Maybe divorce really is the right decision for you. I say it should be the right decision only if they're a threat. Physically, they could harm you. Um, Maybe mentally. I mean, you know, life's a bitch even single. You know what I mean? You could be mentally distraught even when you're single. So you can't always blame somebody else for that. But if they're constantly putting you down, you could address it. My husband puts me down. I put him down. We address it to each other. Sometimes he lets it go. Sometimes I do. Sometimes we don't. But is that enough to get divorced? No, it's not. It's not. You got to get mentally stronger, is what I'm saying. Don't think that everything is just so easy just because you're married. Stop letting yourself go. If you don't take care of yourself, this whole podcast and all my relationship advice is not for you. You should just not even listen to the rest of what I have to say. But long distance relationships really do have to be a two-parter. They have to be a two-person decision. It can't be one because one will always want the other one a little bit more and get needy and have to get more attention. That's not the kind of relationship that you're looking for because that will never work out because that's always going to be an imbalance. When one wants more than the other, there's always going to be an imbalance. There's there's got to be a give and take with everything that you do. And I promise you, things will equal out. It will be a much more rewarding experience. I really suggest that you have long talks with your partner and you start to understand each other and what you want. Things could change after you get married, of course. Religions can change, diets can change. Things, and I've gone through all this stuff with my husband. Things that he wanted to do that. I was like, well, I didn't sign up for that. You got to be flexible. You have to be able to wave like a palm tree. You can't be so hard. You got to be able to bend. You can't be a rock. That doesn't work in any relationship that you have, let alone the one that you're romantic with. So keep romance alive, guys. And if you are in a long distance relationship, you have to really both want it and both keep that alive. We do have FaceTime now. We have all these things with video chats and all that stuff. You can keep it alive like that if it's your thing. I'm not going to say it's ideal to have a long distance relationship because geographically, undesirably, that doesn't always, appeal to people because they want the warmth and they want the reassurance. Or here's the good thing about a long distance relationship. A long distance relationship could be treated like the way you do when you're dating and how exciting it's going to be when you do get to see them, and how you really make that time count and make it so special that those become the memories. It's like kind of like when people are road warriors, like I'm going to give you an analogy of racing. Like if you're doing a marathon every weekend, you look forward to that as your training. Or if you do a marathon once in a while, that's the special time, a couple of times a year. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like an analogy. I don't know if you can understand that. I'm a runner, but, um, you know, basically saying that if you're going to do something all year round, you know, spice it up. And if you're not, then you could treat it like you are when you were dating. And dating is very exciting. It's very unsure. It's unsure. Like that whole uncertainty is like scary to me. Like, where is this going? That's only if you're looking to get married. If you're just a serial dater and you just want to date a million people, then that's your thing. But if you're looking to get married and you're dating, dating's exciting, except it's uncertain. And that's where I had a problem. I didn't like the uncertainty of it. I wanted to know where it was going. But some people like to date. I don't know if ever, anything happens with my husband and I, if God forbid anybody, you know, whatever, doesn't work out, I don't think I would get married again. I had my children. I think marriage is great if you have children. I don't know if it's so great if you don't have children. I don't know if it's great for your children if you want to remarry. I don't know. I don't know the answer for that. I have a stepfather. It worked out, but it's not for everybody. And you got to really take that into consideration too. Not every child wants you not to be happy, but they don't want you to marry someone else. So, like, I had a problem if my mother was going to have another child with somebody else. Was it selfish of me? Yeah, probably. I mean, I didn't threaten her or anything like that. But I'm just saying, when it doesn't feel good for a child to go through that. I wasn't a child, I was in my 20s, but still, I would have been like, what are you doing, with somebody else? Looking back now, oh, yeah, I'm still pretty good at, happy with that decision. That she didn't have another child with somebody else. That's my take, but you could be different. I don't know. I'm not judging you and I'm not judging myself. That's just how I feel. That's another thing. If you feel a certain way, you can't judge, you can't judge yourself even. It's the way you feel. And if somebody else feels that way, you can't judge them either. That's how they feel. They're not doing it on purpose. Maybe they could be changed, maybe they can't, but that's not up to you. So, these are the topics I wanted to talk about. Um, I don't know if you guys have any questions or anything that you want answered, but I think that if you email me or if you write to me on my website, wifesabitch.com, I could give you the answers you're looking for and I'll air it on the next podcast. So if you want that to happen, that's something to think about. I think it's a good way to get dialogue going and some topics, and somebody else can learn from it too. If you're having a problem, maybe somebody else is having the same problem, they could learn from it. So we can keep that dialogue going. And yeah, I don't know another way to, do it except for on a podcast. Uh, Unless you wanted to go on the podcast with me one day. But if you want to be anonymous, I won't say your name. I'll just say another name. And those answers to your questions that are looming, or maybe you're just really scared to ask somebody, or you can't afford a therapist, maybe this could help you. Maybe this podcast is exactly what you were looking for and what you need. So I'm happy to help you if I can. Maybe I could even ask somebody who's an expert, and give you really good advice. Maybe it's golden advice. Maybe it's not, but it was free. So, it's free. Can't beat free. All I ask is that you follow me and like my stuff and on YouTube, subscribe to this channel. I mean, that's all I could ask. And that's not even a guarantee, but I'll still give you the advice. See, that's a good deal. So there's those topics that I wanted to cover. Again, you can go to my website, wifesofbitch.com. You can get some merch. This stuff is fun. It's this one says Housewives Matter or Rent a Karen. And I'm going to be writing more jokes on this. As a comedian, I like to get the jokes out. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's, you could just have the logo or whatever it is that you want on it. I could even have it maybe personalized. You never know. You never know. But right now, this is what I have. And that's what I wanted to talk about. And I hope you got something out of this, even though it was a little under a half hour. You guys could move on to the next podcast. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you got something out of this. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining Wife's a Bitch podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Arnstein.